God damn. I need 1,000 subs to get paid? Dude, I can't have that. My landlord is already breathing down my neck. Bite me, Craig. We're gonna need some viral marketing this week. Dude, I'm so sorry for yelling at you earlier. We cool, bro? Okay, the idea is we write our name on a bunch of pieces of bread and staple it to trees. People see it, I'll go to the channel, the video will get 2 billion views, and I'll get invited to be on Ellen. But I reject her. I'm holding out for the real thing. Oprah. Oprah hosts a 3-hour special. She mostly talks about how the bread thing changed her life. But I'm not even listening to Oprah, because I've spotted somebody more important in the crowd. Snoop Dogg is here. He offers me a record contract. I release one chart-topping single. But oh no, I've developed a drug problem. The music industry's changed me. I host a press conference. I'm taking some time to get back to my roots. Shout out my YouTube channel, get my 1,000 subs, pay my landlord. Back in time for next week's video. Damn it. Man, what a convincing earthquake or gust of wind. The goal for this episode is to get mercy killing.
Die.
The very first story achievement. And since so far in the first 2 episodes we've only covered one zone, we have quite a lot of ground to make up. So here we go, first zone after Lion Eyes watch, Coast. Coast is super boring. Coast has a waypoint though, and waypoints are insane. Waypoints are a system of travel in Wraeclast between different places and times. Now I know what you're thinking. Yes, that Templar does have a smoking hot body. Also, how do waypoints work? Well, good news. Nobody in the story ever acknowledges them in any way. And they're mentioned in the Path of Exile lore compilation for patch 3.4.3D exactly 0 times. If we listen to reason, we can conclude that waypoints are most likely just a gameplay feature and they have little to no impact in the Path of Exile universe. Luckily, I never listen to reason, so I've made some stuff up. Let's investigate. Bright blue, covered in runes, allow travel between massive amounts of space and time. And that's important because there are only a handful of mentions of any kind of time magic in Path of Exile lore. The first ones are the gods of the Ezomite people, and they're all about that time travel shit. The first ones are the Forever Ones. There is no dust in the hourglass in their blood, no fissure of weariness in their faces. To drink of their blood is to drink of time itself. But they're also savages. It specifically says that they don't make tools. We breathe thoughts of a single mind, fashion tools of a single purpose, while the first ones bring to bear anything the wildlands provide. Hard to imagine that a waypoint wouldn't be considered a tool, so that rules out the first ones as a suspect for the creation of the waypoints. And the Ezomite people, well, they're completely dead. So if they can time travel, then they are decidedly not very good at it. Initially, I thought that whatever was powering the portals would be the same thing that's powering the waypoints, since by default, they're both the same color and they're both systems of travel. But the problem with that theory is that portals can be created by portal scrolls, but they can also be created from portal gems. And we know that the gem source of energy comes from a divine creature called the Beast. Now the Beast is massive and has no will of its own, so it's definitely not running around Wraeclast scratching runes into the floor. The Beast was created by the god Sin in order to suppress the gods and keep them from warring against each other. However, some skilled humans were able to directly commune with the Beast and were able to access the suppressed magic of the gods, either directly from the Beast or from the skill gems that use the Beast as a source of energy. Now this kind of magic is called thaumaturgy, and there's evidence that an ancient Vol thaumaturgist named Darion was heavily experimenting with time manipulation. Darion worked for the Queen of the Vaal, Atziri, and Atziri became obsessed with youth and longevity after the death of a Vaal serial killer named Zerfi. Zerfi died at 168 years old, but was said to have the body of a man no older than 20. Zerfi's victims were abducted, brutally tortured, and killed. And this is a separate theory, but I believe that he was making sacrifices to the Ezomite gods, who granted him youth. The Ezomite gods are savages, and they are absolutely known to accept blood sacrifices.
Prove to the first ones you are worthy, Exile!
After Zerfi's death, Darion experimented with torture and murder in order to unlock Zerfi's secret of extended youth. Even though Darion failed to grant the Vaal Queen's wishes, he does claim to be able to manipulate time in some way. To us mere mortals, time is slippery. I'm just evening things out. Darion, Queen's thaumaturgist. Now, do you notice anything interesting about the colour of the magical glow at the top of the ring? Now, my theory is that Darion created the Waypoints in order to gather victims for his experiments. What do you think? What did I miss? How do portal scrolls work? What about the beyond? By the way, GJJ, I know you're watching this at your daily group therapy session, and you should know that you're either with me or against me on this Waypoint thing. Chris? Wilson? I'm really upset that you haven't been responding to my texts. Next area is the Tidal Island, a completely optional area that gates both the Onslaught support gem and a Quicksilver Flask. Two things that are both hugely important in leveling a new character very quickly. So even though it's optional, you will see this one run extremely frequently. The next zone, however, the Mud Flats, is also attached to another optional zone. This one, however, is far more sinister. You won't find many exiles brave enough to enter the Fetid Pools. Legends tell of a powerful necromancer whose quest demands that you kill every enemy in the zone, but no matter what, there will always be 2 zombies left on the other side of the map that you can somehow do 3 laps of the entire instance before you find. After pissing off all the rowers and stealing their shells, you gain access to the submerged passage. Here, we're introduced to a phenomenal enemy. The Siren is a mythical being revered for their great natural beauty, famous for luring sails with their enchanting voices and desirable bodies. Also, I found out a lot of them have bird feet. Well, Sirens in Path of Exile are absolutely no exception. God, I'd love to be trapped in her cave. The ledge is a no-nonsense linear zone. You enter, you run the only path, you make your blood sacrifice to the one true god Kaduku, and you leave. You may stop at the waypoint if you wish, but don't touch the furniture, your hands are always sticky. That's right, every mention of God by the Templar is actually referring to Kaduku.
You are thus blessed, daughter of God. He will show you what true friendship is.
I personally find it hard to worship anything that phallic. It just makes me uneasy. If you watched episode 2, you're probably wondering why I'm not using that sword that I farmed for 35 hours. But don't worry about it, I just forgot to pick it up.
I'm free.
That's not true. It's just old footage. This is the end of it. So now we can bust out our pride and joy. The next zone is the climb, and it's dope. It has goatmen. You know what they say about goatmen. In the climb, we're also introduced to Navali, the Death Gypsy. She'll exchange any silver coins you find for something totally inconsequential that GGG are probably about to change. Although GGG doesn't have a particularly good history of changing things that I think they're about to change, like completing master missions without going back to masters, mass buying currency from vendors, more rows for stash tabs, a death log, and being able to change the zoom out key for the map. Alright, this is it, we're here. Axiom Prison. We're hunting down Brutus, subject of the quest, the Caged Brute. I mean, it's amazing they could even come up with a name for such a brutal brute. This is where the game starts to go full horror movie. We went from butt crabs to living nightmare. I would have loved to be at the character design meeting for this guy. What's scarier than chaining meat to a buff guy in a loincloth? What if the meat had spikes? No, actually the reason for the meat spikes is super simple. A long time ago, Brutus was a ruthless warden of Axiom Prison. and since he was getting old, he made a deal with a bunch of necromancers to extend his life. That didn't work out, it turned him into a monster, so he ate them. Doesn't say anywhere that he ate them, but it really feels like he ate them. After he realized he was trapped in his own prison, he beat his hands to bloody stumps on the walls. Fairly disgusting. Actually, that doesn't explain where the spikes come from, does it?
Rest now, tormented soul.
None are more owned by a prison than those who claim they just work there.
He's slightly more difficult to kill if you don't have perfect gear from grinding Twilight Strand for 5 days. I'd like to propose a toast! Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so sorry it took so long to come out. Truth is, it's just really difficult, and I'm still... I was kidnapped by giants. It's not my fault, alright? Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, click here to subscribe, and click here to watch more videos. See you guys next week. Thank you.